So hey anime fans, the series name is What If Naruto Was in Hazbin Hotel Universe. This is second part of the series, so let's start the series. Luna then saw her profile ping signaling she logged off, but she couldn't help but wonder, why did she care I knew Naruto? Most don't even know his name unless they encounter him or talk to people in the right places. She shrugged her shoulders. Oh well. Time to see if I can find that one where he is trying on underwear or better yet bathing on the beaches of lust. In another part in hell, there was a click on the computer and an owl teen was sitting there. She is wearing all goth clothes, with a beanie on the top of her head with a crown designed into the stitchwork, and wearing earbuds in her ears, which one can't see unless they look close under her feathers. She had long feathers around her body, to match her black hair that went down her back and contrasted her purple/red eyes. She had a black-tipped beak and was walking with a slouch, knowing what her parents wanted and really didn't want to get in the mix of things. More so, she now had to drag herself out of her room after learning her online friend met him. Feels like forever since I last got a good lead on where to start looking for him in hell. For a famous hound, he really doesn't make it easy. Plus, mother would freak if I left the house looking for him. Fun. I hate it here. Walking down the hall, she could hear her mother screaming and her father trying to calm her down. But it was proving pointless as the fighting kept getting louder and louder the closer she got to the main living room. The room was decorated as one would expect for a noble. Fancy furniture, paintings of the lord and lady of the house and herself, and fine carpet and decor decorating the room. The room was dark in color scheme, with the most prominent colors being purple and black. I can't believe you were sucking off that fooning imp in our bedroom. Stella, I'm sorry, but you don't exactly bring warm comfort to our life. Oh, I suppose that this disgusting imp that dared to desecrate our bed is more than worthy of that. Do you know how fooning embarrassing it is to hear this in front of our friends? Why do you care? This reflects on me, not you. Oh, it does reflect on me, you imp-sucking bastard. The girl just watched as her mother continued to rant, and finally her father took notice of her. Octavia, good afternoon. The girl raised an eyebrow. Her father was weird in trying to change the subject to her. Her mother just turned to her and sneered. I see you're still wearing that disgusting cap? Fun, it is like I'm surrounded by people that just want to embarrass me. Octavia sneered. At least I'm choosing what I do with my life, unlike you. What was that? The white-haired owl with pink eyes started growling and approaching their daughter, but in a rare moment she stopped when she saw her husband standing in front of her. While she might insult the man, she knew he was not one to provoke. As one of the few nobles that is considered a possible replacement for Lucifer if something were to happen to him and his family. Stolas, Prince of the Hell, is wearing his regal red robes with a crown on his head, and his 4 red eyes were trained on Stella, his wife. I believe you were about to leave, no, Stella? Stella growled. Now he shows a backbone or tries to be responsible. Are you dash? His eyes darkened and this made the room shake a bit. I said, you are leaving, right, Stella? The woman growled and stopped out of the room, making sure not to step on the inside of her dress and head out to try and make sure her standing among the nobles is saved from her husband's infidelity. Damn, Dad didn't know you had it in you. Why haven't you done that more? Would save us all a lot of headaches. Stolas turned to his daughter and smiled slightly. I sometimes wonder myself. He ruffled her head, making her moan in embarrassment. But back to the point, I called because I wanted to ask how you are doing with everything? Octavia raised an eyebrow. Fine as can be, I guess? We done? She really wanted to go back to her room. Stolas grabbed her wrist. Excellent, I think we should spend the rest of the day together. Come, there is much to do and much to purchase. Octavia tried in vain struggling against her father, but seeing him excited she lost the will to fight him after a few feet. Just like back then, only the fighting was quieter. Flashback. 5-year-old Octavia is terrified. She is sitting in a tent in Lululand and watching some robotic monstrosity dancing and clowning around, and his green glowing eyes were freaking her out. Her father insisted on a family outing, but why this place of all places was a mystery to her, and honestly she could sense the tension in the back of the room with her parents. Her mother was not a fan of this place, but Stolas thought that it was the greatest considering he was dressed up for the occasion, goofy hat and all. She saw the robot clown coming closer to her, and her fear was growing second by second. His hand was close to her face, and she was ready to scream. But soon a hand pulled her back and pushed another child in her place for them to be swept up in the mess. Octavia took a sigh of relief but turned around and saw a hellhound standing there. You okay? Yes I am, thank you, Sir Hellhound. The kid raised an eyebrow. Don't be formal, it is annoying. He looked at the clown and narrowed his eyes. How the fun that thing entertains people is a mystery to me, and quite honestly this is the most annoying place I've been to in the last year. Octavia was surprised to hear someone slightly older than her cursing, but she could see the appeal. Who are you? The kid turned his head and smiled. Just a hellhound, but I guess that is what people call me anyway. Looking up at the crowd, he saw the adults completely oblivious that some of the kids were terrified of the clown and thought it was a good joke. So, want to look at the rest of the park with me? BBB, but my mother always told me dash. The hellhound rolled his eyes, allowing her to see his eyes were blue and that he was missing a bit of one of his ears. Listen, kid, you want to enjoy yourself? Sometimes you got to be adventurous and be willing to defy some rules until you find what makes you happy. Taking her hand, he rushed out of the tent with her, and she was following best she could in her pink dress. Where are we going? The hound smiled. To have some fun. Without much warning, they ended up in the carnival lineups with challenges that allow you to win prizes. She looked around nervously. Scared of someone coming for you? Turning her head. Yes, you might not know this, but there are quite a few demons that would love to get at my father no matter what, and my mother. I know she'll be furious about me just running off like that from the tent. The kid sighed and put his hands behind his head and walked forward without a care. Come on, you can't say that you're happy living like this? Living like what? He turned his head slightly. Scared of every little thing that might happen and things that your parents ordain as absolute, and something you have to do because of status or lineage or family honor or other useless shit like that. Octavia's mouth hung open at his dismissal about everything. Look, he walked up to one of the booths, and when a small red imp tried jumping him from the roof, she saw him step to the side and without warning raised his foot up to meet the imp's crotch, leaving him writhing on the ground from a sickening crunch. She swore she saw blood seeping out from his fingers. If you worry about all that stuff, then you really fail to see what you want or desire in life. More so, you don't get to live your life. They are living your life, you know? He stepped on the imp's neck, and it gave under a sickening crunch while he put some money on the counter for some baseballs. Then how do you live? Octavia was tired of this kid ridiculing his family and acting like he knows better than his parents, knowing what it meant to live when he was not even a noble of any standing. Me? I live my life by my choices. He threw the first ball, shattering the stacked bottles. I choose how I live, what I eat and drink, when I sleep, when I train, when I want something and how I go about getting it, and finally what my life is meant to be. He threw the second ball, shattering another setup, making the owner growl. No matter what, my choice is what matters to me, and I feel others should understand that. He threw his last ball and shattered the last setup and raised his hand in the air in triumph. Well, nobles don't have that luxury of freedom that a commoner has. Actually, they have it more than a commoner does. He looked her square in the eye and took another baseball, and without warning he beamed the stand owner in the face, jumping over and landing on his chest before pulling something out from his hand that was hidden. Holding it up, Octavia saw it was a pistol, and without hesitation he pointed it at the demon and shot him in the head, covering him in his brain and blood. How do you figure nobles have it easier than commoners in the case of freedom? Simple. He looked through the collection the man had in the back of his stand and was looking for something, but he found almost nothing until he grabbed something sitting underneath the cash box that he was hiding. You nobles can choose how to live and where you live. You can choose who serves you, what you know, what is deemed true for nobles, and what is deemed false. Honestly, you guys have more freedom than most, and more importantly, you have the power to defy the very system that was created and make it something new. The choice, however. He jumped over the barrier while spinning the pistol in one hand and holding something in his other hand. Do you take control of your life and lineage, or do you let it dictate you? He then threw the item at Octavia, who caught it. She looked down and saw it was a black beanie with a small crown stitching on it. The design was crude, but it was still a nice hat. All that matters is choices and what you make of them. Make sure you pick what you want to do, okay? Trust me, you'll be happier due to it. Octavia looked at the hat, and for the first time in her life, she could say without a shred of doubt she loved this hat. She loved it, the design and the feeling of it, and the fact that it was her first gift from what she can assume is a friend. It was comforting to her when surrounded by those that will kiss her ass and treat her as if she was divine and without fault. Octavia, turning slightly, she saw her father and mother rushing to her, and without warning her father picked her up in his arms and was hugging her closely. My little starlight, don't you run off like that again, please, I was so worried. Octavia frowned and hugged him back. I won't, Daddy, I just wanted to win a prize and my friend did for me. Turning his eyes, he saw the male hellhound looking over the pistol and just sighing. Looking at the corpse he could figure out what happened. It was regular occurrence that an employee would be murdered at their stall for trying to cheat a customer. Well, that is nice dash. Mongrel, how dare you touch my daughter? The hound looked at the woman owl and didn't even flinch as she got right in his face. He just stared at her and rolled his eyes, before turning on his heel and walking away with wave. Nice meeting you all. Have fun after all. My mother only brought me here to brag about how much better the other one is. Wait just a fooning minute. Before Stella could chase down the hound, Stolas put a hand on her shoulder, and when she growled at him he glared back. Touch him and we will have more than a fair share of problems that won't end with just our loss of prestige. Turning his head at the child he frowns. He knew who that was. Anyone in the royal lines would, given he was famous and known for his unique eyes and missing ear, and it was a good thing he was here, otherwise their family would go extinct for daring to harm him. 2 noble families already were killed after they did something in front of his grandfather, and this led to him slaughtering them and their family without hesitation. The only good news is that the families that were killed were assholes anyway, so no one cried at their line ending. Putting his daughter on the ground, he notices the hat in her hand. Starlight, did that nice hound give you that? Octavia nodded her head, but her mother snorted. It is an eyesore, throw it in the garbage now. No child of the Goetia family shall dash. No. Stella glared at her daughter, who weakly glared back. Stolas watched in shock. What was that? I said no, I want to keep it. I like the hat. She put it on her head, and while it was a little big now, Stolas could say it fit her. Absolutely not. Stella reached for it and Octavia flinched, but her father got in front of her and stopped Stella from touching her. Enough. If she wants to keep that, I say we let her. I mean, what is the harm after all? She made a very interesting friend today, and I can't wait to see how things blossom from here on. TCH, that brat will never be anything but an eyesore in hell. You might think that, but he will still be there, and you know it. Daddy, do you know who he is? Yes, he smiled. He is someone special. Be on the lookout, as I can promise you he is going to be someone to fear when his time comes. Octavia nodded her head, but what she didn't know was the thought of him had ignited a fire in her, and she wouldn't know what to do with it until she was much older. Flashback ends. Octavia could only sit in the car and sigh while dragging one of her fingers across the window and smiling lightly. Soon we shall meet again, and I won't let anyone take you from me. Stolas subtly was watching his daughter and smiled. Ah, young love. Valentino's Club XXX. Naruto sighed. Opening the door to this place, he was assaulted by all kinds of horrible smells and pheromones that were running rampant. But he had to stomach it for his free client. Yeah, client. Hey you. A small being with a pink head and one eye looked up and pointed his tentacle at Naruto. Oh, sir. Sorry if I kept you waiting. As you can see, we have another very loaded day. Sex pun's a thing too, huh? I'll pay double your salary not to say that while I'm here. Sorry, sir. Lord Valentino's orders. Naruto rolled his eyes. Look, the moth freak and I have a meeting today. I'm not here for anything other than that. Tell him that the Hellhound King is here, got it? The small being shivered. Yes, sir. He quickly picked up a phone and dialed one number, and put it to his ear. Sir, there is a gentleman here to see you. He says he is the Hellhound King. He nodded his head. Yes, sir, right away, sir. He hung up the phone and turned to Naruto with a bow. Please follow me. Walking away from the front desk, they entered the main floor of the building, and it was just like Naruto pictured it. Stripper poles everywhere, scantily dressed men and women, demons walking around, some even fooning on the couches and giving blowjobs or even eating women out. On top of that, some were serving drinks, and some were not even dressed and had discarded their clothes the minute they walked into the building. Pretty much the room smelled so horrible that Naruto covered his nose with one of his hands and his ears closed downward to prevent the sound of slurping, moaning, screaming, and slamming ringing to the point that is all he hears. Unfortunately, the little servant picked up an unknown alcohol drink and started walking with Naruto following quickly behind him, leading to Naruto avoiding some of the women that tried to grab him the minute he was within range of their claws and even hooves. Naruto and the demon arrived outside of a door that read, VIP. Naruto looked and coughed. You should probably knock first rather than just barge into the room. Might avoid a bullet. Ah. He nodded his head and heard a muffle. Come in. Entering the room, the demon placed the drink in front of his boss and bowed before walking out as quickly as his tentacles could carry him. Valentino. Naruto. His voice had a bit of a static sound to it. How pleasurable you are here now. Turning to the women on the couch. Ladies, give daddy some alone time with his guests. Please entertain the guests on the ground floor. Of course, Mr. Valentino. The girls waved at their boss and blew kisses at Naruto, who just ignored them, keeping his eye on the asshole in front of him. Sitting in a chair was a blue-skinned, red-eyed demon wearing love shades, long fur pimp robe, and a large red pimp hat. The man had a small Lilith frame, all things considering countering his height and more so. He had only 2 of his hands free at this time while the others were occupied in his coat pockets. So, Val took a sip of his drink before pulling up his cigarette pipe and releasing a puff of smoke. You finally have come. I knew that back then you were special. He pulled out a keychain from his pocket, showing a severed ear that was perfectly preserved, and Naruto's ear twitched. Yeah, well, at least I don't get my kick abusing and fooning children, you are fooning freak. Valentino laughed. I'll have you know I don't touch kids. I'm many things. A drinker, businessman, sex machine. I'll even admit I'm an abuser and user. But the one thing I don't touch is children. Get that through your head. Naruto narrowed his eyes. Didn't seem to bother you to chase me down. Oh? I was going to keep you as my pet, and when you were old enough then put you to work. That is still abusing and using children, you sick fun. Valentino took another drink, and with his last hand, he swiftly threw a deck of cards on the table. The past is the past. Why don't we focus on the present, my dear doggy? Naruto growled before walking over and sitting down in the chair in front of the asshole. Valentino quickly shuffled the cards and started dealing. So, I think you know why I wanted you here, right? Naruto nodded his head and looked at his hand and kept a straight face. This is about Angel. Valentino nodded his head, and with a wave of his hand a sack of chips appeared and soon dealt out the chips for the game to really start. Naruto threw 2 chips into the center. Angel is with the hotel now, and that means he is done with your world. Oh, and how do you figure? He smiled and threw 3 chips. After all, the man has been failing to keep to anything that the hotel has set up. Naruto narrowed his eyes and tapped the table, signaling he will stay. Valentino did the same thing, and they revealed their hands with him grunting in anger as Naruto took 5 chips. He might have had a few failed attempts, but that is expected for someone going through recovery. But the thing he doesn't need right now is you. Naruto shuffled the deck before dealing out the cards. Looking at his hand, he grunts while Valentino smirks. Well, even if he wants to leave, he can't. He snaps his finger. Out of flames came a large parchment titled Contract. He signed a long-term deal with me and my company 5 years ago. He not only has to work out his contract, which he is not even half completed with, but he also has to pay back what he owes in terms of debt, which is quite a lot of money. Valentino threw 10 chips into the center, daring Naruto to match it. Naruto didn't hesitate, and he threw out 10 chips. Both stand and then showed their hands while Valentino was angrier. How the fun, did you pull out a royal flush? Naruto smirked. Guess I'm just that lucky, huh? Sorry that your only attraction is the dildo in your ass. Valentino gritted his teeth before shuffling the cards again while Naruto collected his chips. But if the issue is the debt, then tell me how much he owes in total and don't leave 1 cent out. Valentino handed out the cards. Naruto seeing him slip a few into his hand, and he smiled seeing what he got. He owes me close to 10 million. Naruto nodded his head and took another card while looking at his hand and smiling. Valentino nodded his head and pushed more chips onto the table and got another card, smiling at it. Naruto shook his head, and when they revealed their hands this time, he slammed his fist under the table in fury. What the fun? How did you beat me? I know I should have won. Naruto chuckled while taking more of his chips and then shuffling the cards once more. Want to switch games? Seems like poker is not your strong suit? He then handed out the cards and the Mothman sat down in a huff. Just play. Naruto nodded his head and looked at his hand but put his cards down to glare. The money I can pay easily, and if you try to hide that I paid it or try to make it where he still owes, I'll know, trust me. Valentino huffed. As for the contract, I have something to trade. Naruto reached into his hoodie and out came another parchment paper with the word contract. But Valentino took one notice of the contract. It was in red. Is this dash? Yes, this is a Lucifer contract. Valentino swallowed. Lucifer contract. A contract formed with a connection to Lucifer himself. The man makes these contracts to keep track of who is keeping their debts and who isn't, and who can be eliminated, and who isn't going to be eliminated. While normal magical contracts work, someone can word it to suit one party or another. But in this sense, Lucifer balances the contract to favor both sides and that no one gets screwed in the end. But if one person was to break their end of the contract, Lucifer will find out and hunt them down, as this means they believe him nothing to fear, and he will not take this from anyone. Yes, Valentino grabbed the contract and read through it. while Naruto pushed his chips into the center of the table, making this the last hand of the game. First he was reading calmly, then angry, then annoyed, and then with understanding, and finally with a big smile on his face. The terms, I can accept these terms, if that means you get to do some stuff for me in exchange and ensure that I make up my losses with this move. Naruto nodded his head and Valentino pushed his chips into the center of the table, and after picking a card they reveal, and it shows that Naruto has a straight flush and that Valentino had a flush. He huffs. Well, that fooning blows, and not in the fun way where it ends with me covered. Yeah, keep dreaming. Naruto gathered the chips and with one tap of his fingers they all changed into cash before he starts putting the bills into his jacket pocket inside of his coat. Thank Lucifer for the storage space in this thing. Valentino snorted. Well, tell my darling angel if he wants to visit he is more than welcome to do so, but I guess we can consider our business concluded then. Naruto nodded his head and after both men signed the contract, he walks out of the room hearing Valentino shouting into the phone about getting some men and women for service. Exiting the building, Naruto sat down in the limo. It had waited outside this entire time, and it made him angry that Xavier didn't listen to him. So, sir, I'm guessing that your business outside of the contract is concluded? Naruto snorted. Not even fooling. The minute the deal ends in some way or he finds a loophole, he will try to exploit it. I know that bastard enough to know he will never really relinquish Angel, but that is fine, I'll be ready for the fooner. Xavier nodded his head. Where to now, sir? Take me to Giovanni's. I need to just party the rest of the day away, and honestly, getting shit-faced sounds good right about now. Of course, sir, but Lady Charlie will be quite angry. Naruto nodded his head and sighed. Yeah, but I had a long day, so she can bitch at me later. Naruto watched as things were passing by until finally, after exiting Valentino's side of town, he saw a club that had loud music blaring and people waiting in a long line to get inside. Naruto took off his hoodie, and without warning hops out of the car and shouts, "Come by in the morning, Xavier, tell Mom I said so." Yes, Master Naruto. With this the limo pulled away and the guard at the door, weird purple man with a speaker in his mouth, saw him, motioned him inside. Naruto waved before walking into the club, smiling, seeing Tex and his girl hanging out with the others. Ah, fun it! Naruto released a howl, and this drew the club on him, and Tex and the others howled as well. Who ready to get shit-faced? We are! That night, Naruto would barely remember what happened and not give a flying fun. Oh, make enough! Naruto growled at Angel. You had to tell others about my virginity, didn't you, fooning pole sucker? Angel laughed. Hey, Cherry and I were just talking, and the subject came up. Bullshit. Well, Cherry smiled and laughed. It is okay that if you can't get it up or even pack much, you know that old saying, it ain't size that matters but what you do with it. Naruto growled. I'm not impotent and I sure as shit ain't small. I just don't feel the need to brag or start something about it. Angel rolled his eyes while the rest of the room just went on with their day, while Verasika was listening in carefully, thinking this would explain his lack of interest in her. Naruto, hearing this joke, knowing Angel is teasing him relentlessly, and now he is getting shit about outsiders saying the same thing. Enough! Without warning and hesitation, he drops his pants and underwear, and without warning the entire room was left in shock. Does this look small to any one of you motherfooners? Everyone in the lobby was left gobsmacked for different reasons. Angel, as he was looking at the size of the and wondering, how the fun does he walk around let alone fight without tripping over it? Cherry is taking some pics and thinking maybe she should jump that, when she gets a chance. Alastair is horrified, and covering his eyes with the tentacles and playing radio static. Husker just took a drink and quickly turned away, already feeling inferior to Naruto in the sense that he was packing some serious muscle. Vaggie, who walked into the room, was stunned silent, and just wondering if it'd be wrong to try her luck while dating his mother, or if that is too weird even for hell. She may be a lesbian, she can't say, she might not be bisexual. Charlie is covering her eyes, not wanting to see her son like this. Luna, who had walked into the building to hang out with Naruto, was left stunned silent, in the heat, and taking pictures while fighting her urges to just mount him, or be mounted. Verasika and Nifty just licked their lips and charged him, but they quickly were stopped by Charlie. Naruto, on the other hand, saw cameras outside and groaned. Fun, this is really not my day. What do you mean you are going to be busy? Stella Goetia shouted from her bedroom with her husband, which was loud enough to rouse Octavia from her sleep. Oh great, Octavia thought as she grabbed the pillow and used it to cover her ears, which was in vain as Stella continued to scream at Stolas. Just another morning. Pushing the pillow against her head and turning over, Octavia soon gave it up as she could not fall back asleep. grabbing her headphones and putting on some music. With the volume as high as it could go to drown out Stella's voice, Octavia got up. Drowsily getting dressed, Octavia put her beanie on and checked her social media. Her fingers scrolled up and 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 up through stupid garbage posts before she tensed and scrolled up a few times and tapped on a large cluster of videos. Stolas, meanwhile, was starting to get irritated with his wife's early morning yelling. "Well?" Stella screamed, her swan plumage in agitated form as she huffed to recollect her breath. "You not going to defend yourself, you fooning idiot. Okay now." Stolas started as he was getting upset. "What the fun?" Both Stella and Stolas stopped their argument in their tracks as they ran to Octavia's room. "My little starlet!" Stolas shouted in concern as they barged into her room, seeing Octavia in distress as she looked at her phone. "What is wrong?" "Blitz in Luna's apartment." Luna's eyes snapped open when a gunshot went off. "God damn it, you fooning rodent, stand still!" Blitz shouted as a second gunshot went off. "Another rat, I guess," Luna thought as she got up, fully awake at this as a third shot was fired. Getting off of her bed and grabbing her phone, Luna got dressed. "HM?" Luna sounded as she saw a specific post blowing up in popularity. Tapping on it, Luna watched with boredom before her ears drooped with eyes widening. "That son of a bitch!" Luna shouted in jealous anger. "What is it, Looney?" Blitz shouted through the walls as he continued to fire at the rat. Meanwhile, Naruto groaned. His head was throbbing and he was not sure how he is not throwing up while the sun was blinding him. He was down the street from the Happy Hotel, which meant he had passed out drunk on the street. Really overdid it last night, Naruto thought as he lightly smiled. Last night had been a complete riot for him. After a reunion and a stressful afternoon dealing with the moth freak and being surrounded by sex and drugs, he was just looking to unwind, with Tex, his girl KK, and others there. Things got popping so fast that he was lost in a mist of color. Walking up to the door, Naruto groaned at his throbbing head. Note to self: get Husker's instant cure for hangovers, or at least learn the recipe to make it myself. After getting up and brushing himself off, Naruto walked the rest of the way back to the hotel, and he saw Xavier parked outside of the hotel and sighed, knowing that he most likely told Charlie about his plans for the afternoon and into the morning. Sighing, he opened the doors and walked into the main hall, where he was greeted by the one thing that he knew would be waiting for him, an angry Charlie who was glaring him down with her arms crossed. "Naruto, what the hell did you think you were doing?" Charlie demanded. Naruto raised an eyebrow by groaning lightly from his pounding headache. "I partied a little bit too much yesterday," he replied lackadaisically. Charlie growled, irritated by his laid-back attitude. "A little?" She pulled out her phone, opened up a social media app, and showed the screen to him. Naruto had to glare at the screen as his eyes were still adjusting from being in the dark club, and with the flashing light he was still adjusting. "Okay?" She pointed to the screen and Naruto looked closer and saw a video playing on the phone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The count continues as Naruto is held upside down on a keg with a nozzle in his mouth and the other hounds around him chanting as he was held by Tex and KK. She is a blue hellhound with red eyes and white and black stripe hair. She was a big girl who was wearing a black torn-up shirt stopping mid-drift above her navel and wearing a pair of tight-fitting jeans that had holes at the knees and an opening for her tail behind her. The group is holding him up and after a few seconds shows Naruto having reached 30 and then him being let down. "Fun, yeah. No one parties like a hellhound, bitches!" Naruto shouted as he threw his hands up, beer and saliva dripping from his nose and mouth, which was in this stupid smile with hazy eyes. Charlie then pulls her phone back to her face and clicks on another video, and shows him this one, and he just moans. In the center of the screen, standing on stage was KK singing a song, "Party Like It Is the Last Day of Your Life," with Tex standing by the stage with 4 bodies at his feet. His girlfriend just winked at him, and he growled playfully. On the right side of the screen, Naruto at this point was making it rain by throwing money out onto the floor, and the hounds were rushing the grounds to get them some of the money while he laughed. Video flashes forward and it shows Naruto in a corner, and some female hellhounds all dancing around him, and some even grinding on him, while he smirks with his eyes turning red. "Damn, this is one fun evening. You girls sure know how to make a young hound feel special." Naruto howled out, making the girls laugh as they howled along with him. The video zooms on the women who are reaching at the bottom of their tops, and without warning lifted them for Naruto to lick his lips. "Now that is fooning hot," jump up and down. The girls complied to his demand before throwing their tops around and soon jumping on him and grinding to their heart's content, and Naruto just holding up a fat stack of cash. Charlie pulled her phone down, destroying it when it hit the ground. Really? You go out to deal with business, and this is what you do? Charlie asked as her anger was not held back. Naruto rolled his eyes. Who the fun was recording me though? Can you check dash? Naruto started to say as he went to move past Charlie. That is not important. Naruto turned to see Vaggie glaring at him. Albeit her anger was not as raw as Charlie's. Your behavior is inexcusable. What if other people in hell saw this? Naruto deadpanned. What the fun do you mean if they see? That shit is out on the internet. If it isn't seen now, it will later. Naruto tries to walk to the bar but Charlie blocks him with Vaggie and he took a deep breath. Look, can we do this later when I have a chance to sober up? I have a throbbing headache and really don't want to deal with bad son. Good mom routine you like to implement. Excuse me? Vaggie growled at him and Charlie narrowed her eyes. Excuse us for loving you and not wanting you to turn into the other assholes in hell. Turning into a deviant like our so dear clients. I mean seriously, how do you think this makes it look like to them? They are trying to recover and you go out and do the same shit they are doing. What is the point then? Naruto rolled his eyes. They want to do this, me? I just want to enjoy life. Party where I can and blow off steam when things get too stressful. I mean, he rubbed his hand through his hair. He was really annoyed and reaching pissed off levels. What the fun is wrong with me going out and just chilling with some friends and getting a little wild? I mean, I got Valentino off our ass for now, so a thank you would be appreciated. Vaggie shook her head. Naruto, you can't just do random shit like this though. What you did with Valentino was dangerous dash. Charlie started to say. No more than just walking down the Funing Street. No more than riding in the known car of the Magna family. Fun. All of hell is dangerous. I mean, Charlie dragged me into the final circle of hell and lived there for a good chunk of my life. Naruto dash, Vaggie said with an eye raised. Naruto held his hand up to Vaggie. Seriously, stop trying to be my mother because you're not Vaggie. Vaggie flinched at this and this got Charlie riled up. Naruto, you can't talk to her like that. Why the fun not? She can't act like my mom when she has been here what? For years 5? She has been here longer than that and you know it. So, fooning what, she is not my mother and right now I don't need a nagging mother in my ear testing how far she can push my patience. Charlie got red in the face and Naruto growled back at her. Vaggie, seeing the tension, decided it'd be best to back out now. Haven't seen anything like this since the day we first met, and he bit me. She subconsciously rubbed her arm. Hearing footsteps, she sees Alaster, Husker, Nifty, Verasika, and Angel looking into the room. Not wanting the added tension, she rushes to them and pushes them away from the opening in the hall. Whoa, Taco, breathe, what the fun are you doing? Angel laughed out, sort of enjoying the panic Vaggie expressed. Look, Vaggie looked behind her then back at Angel with a glare. You guys can't go inside right now. I mean it, things are really tense, and it might be getting really ugly. What the fun do you mean? Husker could hear the argument from upstairs and he was annoyed since he was sobering up and he needs a drink. But they were blocking him from the bar. Look, it is complicated right now, just stay out. Alaster smiling snapped his fingers. Oh dear girl, let's us watch from here then. Vaggie sighed, but soon everyone gathered around the mirror to watch the mother and son fight. Back with Charlie, she was really angry with Naruto. I can't believe you are treating Vaggie like that when she is trying to look out for you. Fun! Naruto rubbed his forehead. I didn't ask her to. All I'm trying to do is find Husker's stash of hangover cure drink, and you are just agitating me with the constant pestering and add her to the mix? Anyone would be driven up a wall. What do you mean pestering? I'm just trying to make sure you don't become a complete degenerate. Naruto scoffed before laughing right in Charlie's face. By sheltering me? Charlie, seriously, I'm dealing with a lot of shit right now and this is the only way I can cope. What problems could you possibly be facing that haven't created for yourself? I mean, your selfish behavior has brought a lot on you. Naruto's eyes turned red, and the floor started cracking with him gaining a faint red aura. Selfish? Are you fooning serious? He pointed his claw finger at her. If anyone is fooning selfish, it is you. Excuse me. She growled and her horns started forming and the floor beneath her now was creaking. How is trying to be a good mother considered selfish? Oh, I don't know, let me think. Naruto pretended to think before snapping his fingers. How about keeping me completely oblivious about stuff that I'm facing now? sex and drugs. I get you don't want me indulging in them, but I'm facing a bit of a crisis at this time because I think I'm a late fooning bloomer because of you. Worse, I can't stop certain things from happening no matter how hard I try. What the fun does that mean? Naruto rolled his eyes as he turned his back to Charlie. See, I can't talk about shit with you. Well, then, he cut off Charlie while turning to face her sharply. How about you condemn your dad for giving me more freedom to do what I want and the training necessary to fight off overlords and other high-ranking demons when they started coming for you? You were 8. Charlie screeched. How the fun was that reasonable? He introduced you to booze by the time you were 10. Yeah, well, at least he was trying to not be this perfect persona of a parent, and admits his faults and mistakes unlike you. I can admit when I'm wrong. Name one fooning time. The group in the other room were watching and everyone was having varying reactions. Vaggie was getting really concerned with how intense both were getting. Angel was just watching in concern, never seeing the two this pissed and angry at each other. Husker was watching with a neutral expression. But he had an idea what Naruto was facing, but it was not his place to say what. Alastair just watched in interest as he never expected things like this as the last time he saw the two of them. They were close in terms of parents with their children. Nifty was just imaging her cleaning up the damage they were leaving behind. Verasika, however, was frowning at the mention of being a late bloomer, and she was sure what he meant. It would explain why he can get excited. But he is not sure how to handle it, and not sure where his preferences might go. She pulled out her phone and texted Tex, knowing he would be the best to talk to Naruto about this stuff. I was wrong in thinking you are mature enough to act your age. Charlie threw out. Naruto's eyes and body went stiff before he roared. Not mature. Mother Funer, I have done everything for you and this hotel. Not once have you ever thanked me for everything I'm doing and the fact that I'm stepping on my own ideals to help. Charlie flinched. Not to mention you haven't once thanked Vaggie for her help either. I mean, she hasn't said it out loud but fun you. She thought the hotel idea was stupid as well, but she did it because she cares about you for some unknown fooning reason. Vaggie didn't face the others in the hotel, but Angel did look at her in confusion and a little bit of new respect, considering she was putting her feelings aside for someone else, which he can't say he has done very often while down in hell. Not just that. How about all the crap I have done to help you keep this place running, and more so going beyond expectations? He held his fingers up. I convinced the former owners to leave after they threatened to rape me. Naruto shivered. That was not a pleasant day. Tentacle monsters were never fun people to deal with. On top of that, there is trying to keep this hotel maintained from breaking. Then, how about your ex? Have you ever told Vaggie how that ended, and who was the one that helped you kick the prick to the curb? Charlie turned from Naruto and shivered. Fooning figured. Naruto then held up his third finger but felt his hangover finally taking over and just growled. All my fooning time here. Everything I have done for you and the sacrifices others make for you, and not once have you said thank you. Not once have you really tried to understand why we are doing this for you. Not once have you truly appreciated what we are doing for you. Naruto glared. At this point I'm just fooning done, Charlie. You want to treat me like this after I did everything I could to keep some weird motherfuner from the hotel? Then fine. Naruto turned on his heel. On a serious note, have you ever thought about the people in heaven? Hasn't it ever dawned on you that they might not want sinners to be redeemed? What if you do end up redeeming Angel? But when he gets to the pearly gates, they kill him on sight. Angel felt an intense cold chill run down his spine. Charlie was tense, a look of shock, confusion, and dawning fear on her face as Naruto rolled his eyes and turned heel towards the door. I'm leaving, don't contact me. Charlie reached out, grabbing his wrist. Wait, you can't just leave. Excuse me? Naruto turned his head slightly, pulling out of Charlie's grasp. You might have adopted me, but that doesn't mean you control me. I'm more than just some filthy stray. Charlie glared. You're my son. Just tell me what is bothering you, please. We can work through this. Naruto shuddered, hunching his shoulders in anger. Did you literally forget what I just fooning said a minute ago? This is exactly it. You are told the truth and then you seemingly ignore it, and without hesitation, you tried to flip the script. I'm not Dash. You do this all the fooning time. That doesn't mean you have to yell at me. Charlie shouted back, tears starting to stream down her face as her voice screeched to a higher pitch. The fun? Naruto deadpanned before finally roaring out for the entire hotel to start shaking rapidly. Are you fooning serious? Yes, I am. Now stop acting like such a brat, and just talk to me, Charlie begged. Naruto felt it. Something in his head just broke and finally he shouted, "Fun you, fun 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 you. Fun you to oblivion. I'm so sick of this, and as of this moment you can fun off with your stupid fooning dream and ambition. Run the hotel, do your fooning pointless treatment, and do whatever you fooning desire, but don't ask me to be here because I sure as fun won't be, as you are the worst fooning mother in all of hell." The entire hotel was silent. No one dared utter a word. The mirror quickly turned off and everyone found the floor and walls very interesting. As for Charlie, waterfall tears were rolling down her face and she was just in shambles. Naruto just stared at her for a second before walking into the hall and saying, "I'm going, don't any of you fooning follow." With that final message, he opens and slams the doors before walking into the limo where he collapsed onto the back seat. "Sir?" Naruto barely looked at Xavier. Just fooning take me home, Xavier. Now I just don't want to be here any longer." Xavier frowned and looking through his mirror he nodded his head at the young man and started up the car. "Please roll up the window, please. I don't want to talk." Naruto turned away from Xavier and he rolled up his window, and after starting down the road, he pulled out his cell phone and dialed 666. "Hello?" "Yes, my lady, this is Xavier. I'm heading your way. There is something that has happened and I think you are needed. Thank you, see you soon." He quickly hung up the phone and frowned. "I hope the young master and Charlie can work this out." 7th ring. Lilith Magna walked through the halls as the servants moved around her in a bustle, readying things for Naruto's arrival. "You," Lilith said to a servant that carried a bag of snacks. "Let me check those snacks." With a flinch and a sweaty nod, the servant allowed her to check. "Good, you got all of Naruto's favorites," Lilith said with a passionate smile before she placed her hand before the servant's face, magic pulsating in her palm. "But I am not happy that you think you can poison him." Without hesitation, the servant's body was incinerated to the point where the ashes were burned into nothing. None of the other servants batted an eye at the murder of one of their own. "I'll dispose of the poisoned goods, madam," another servant said as they took the bag. "Thank you, make sure you feed them to someone who deserves it," Lilith said with a smile, proud of her workers. She continued her walk, helping in small ways as she did, with a smile on her face. "Ah, memories," she thought as she looked out a window into a courtyard. Flashback. Lilith smiled a shaky smile as she watched Naruto, age 6, loudly gulp down his tea. It had been 3 weeks since Charlie, who was sitting next to Lilith, had adopted Naruto, and she personally didn't see any real reason to why her daughter had taken him in. However, Lilith could admit Naruto was adorable, especially in his tux with a short-sleeve button-up shirt and shorts. "Naruto, you should drink your tea like this," Charlie instructed, showing him how to hold his cup and demonstrating how to drink, which was very quiet. Naruto tilted his head, his ears moving with gravity. "Why?" he questioned with a confused look. "Because it is how we nobles do things," Charlie explained patiently. "But," Naruto replied, more confused than ever, "I'm not a noble, Charlie." He demonstrated this by grabbing one of the pastries with his hand and shoving into his mouth, chewing with his mouth open, making Lilith giggle as Charlie stood up. "Hey, don't chew with your mouth open." "Why not?" Naruto asked in a taunting tone, some of the pastry flying out of his mouth and onto the table. Charlie's eye twitched in irritation, but she took a deep breath. "Because people don't want to see." "What? Seafood?" Naruto asked with a cocky smile as he opened his mouth, his tongue hanging out of his mouth with the moist chewed-up pastry slipping off and onto his shorts. Grossed out, Charlie grabbed a napkin and wiped his shorts, much to Naruto's displeasure. "Hey, you are near my..." Naruto shouted, making Charlie blush in embarrassment. "That isn't... pervert!" Naruto shouted, standing on the chair and pointing at her. "Charlie is a pervert. Hey, I am your mother." Charlie snapped as she picked him up under his arms and sat him back down. "You don't point at people and you don't shout that kind of accusation." Naruto scowled. "I don't have a mom," he grumbled loudly, crossing his arms as he turned away from her. Lilith couldn't help but feel a small pang of sadness as she saw the look on Charlie's face. "Charlie," Lilith started to say before Naruto's ears perked up, his blue eyes widening. Lilith watched as Naruto turned and jumped off of his chair, pushing Charlie aside as a magic steel rope appeared and wrapped around him, binding him. "Shit!" an individual shouted as they pulled Naruto up, holding the hellhound upside down. "We didn't get the princess, but from what we just heard, he is her kid, so he is a good hostage." "Naruto!" Charlie shouted, her irritation from earlier vanishing as it was replaced with worry as a group of 12 men standing on the wall. "That's enough out of you, princess," the leader said as they held a gun to Naruto's head. "Comply to our demands." He cocked the gun. "Your stray is going to paint this wall with his brains." The members of the attackers chuckled. Naruto shook in fear as the blood in his body rushed to his head. "What do you want?" Charlie asked as her heart beat loudly in her chest. "We want—" "This is droll," Lilith said as she put her cup in her saucer before standing. "Stay where you are, lady, or the kid dies," the leader reaffirmed to Lilith, whose eyes narrowed dangerously. "Pigs like you," Lilith stated as she stood up, her magic permeating the air with ease, "can oink when you eat your own shit." "Oh, we are," the leader started to say before he stopped. "Boss? Yo, you okay?" Their boss turned to them. Upon his head was a twisted crown of jagged iron appears on its head, and a madness glows in his eyes. Turning his gun on them, he shot one of them in the head. "Boss!" Several more gunshots were heard and silence drowned the screams as the leader, coated in the blood of his allies, approached the queen and princess, untying Naruto. "Naruto!" Charlie shouted as she hugged the hellhound, who didn't resist as he hugged her back. "I was so scared." Lilith turned to the assailant. "You've made me proud," Lilith cooed as she walked past the man. "Now, kill yourself, you disgusting pig." In a swift arm movement, the assailant shot his head into chunks, collapsing to the ground as Lilith wrapped her arms around Charlie and Naruto. Flashback and, smiling at this memory, Lilith started to walk through the castle, reliving memories. Hotel, several hours later. "Charlie, come on, please open the door and let me in," Vaggie begged as she gripped the door handle, knocking on it for the umpteenth time that day. Vaggie was standing outside the bedroom for Charlie, and she couldn't hear a thing. Not a word, a sniffle, nothing. That is what worried her as she knew that Charlie was just broken but due to the new locks. She wasn't sure how to get in since only Naruto knew where the master key was and the only other key for the bedroom was in Charlie's possession. "Fun," she banged her head against the wall. "This is just fanfooning-tastic." Hearing footsteps, she turned and glared. "What do you want, Angel?" The spider rubbed his shoulders with his extra arms. "How is Charlie?" Vaggie raised an eyebrow and pushed off the wall. "About what you can expect. Broken and depressed." I don't think Charlie realized a lot of what he said, and now it is starting to sink in and how far she pushed her own son away with her behavior and how smothering she was being. Angel raised an eyebrow. "Yeah, he mentioned that. What the fun does her being smothering have to do with things?" Vaggie rolled her eye. "To be honest, everything." She rubbed the back of her hair. "When I met Charlie and Naruto things were calmer. Lucifer told me when he was younger the two of them were always fighting or arguing at times about her treatment, and not being allowed to do what he wanted." She looked at the door. By the sounds of it, after her ex was out of her life, things were good for them. They were getting along, and even when I started dating Charlie the fighting between me and him was limited thanks to them being so understanding one another's feelings. Like how he felt meeting another chick interested in his mom? Sort of. Flashback. "Mom, Dad, this is Vagatha." Charlie introduced Vaggie to her parents. Vaggie was stiff as she smiled nervously. Being before the king and queen was overwhelming. "Oh, who is this cute thing?" Lilith said as she approached Vaggie, cupping her face. "You are cute." "Thank you, ma'am," Vaggie said as Lilith lightly squished her cheeks. "Please stop." Lucifer chuckled as he walked next to Charlie, both smiling. "So," Lucifer said as he gave Charlie a glance, "you like women now?" Charlie's smile widened to the point her eyes nearly closed. "Yeah," she replied happily. Lucifer chuckled as he returned his gaze to his wife and Vaggie. "Me too." Both father and daughter chuckled before Lilith released Vaggie and gave her a hug. "Welcome to the family, Vagatha." "You can call me Vaggie, Your Highness," Vaggie said nervously. "Okay, Vaggie, now there is someone else you need to meet," Charlie said as she took her girlfriend by the arm and led her deeper into the castle. Charlie led Vaggie to a bedroom, which she could hear the sounds from a TV inside. A younger sibling? Vaggie thought, which confused her as she could have sworn that Charlie was the only daughter of Lilith and Lucifer. "Coming in," Charlie said as she opened the door. Within the room was a very childish-style room, with toys and books, a small desk and a large TV with as many game systems from the human world. Before the TV was an 8-year-old hellhound Vaggie had never seen, with his blonde hair and blue scare eyes surprising her, as he turned to face Charlie and her with confusion on his face as he paused his game. "Vaggie, this is Naruto, my son," Charlie said happily as she called out to him, pulling Vaggie with her. "Naruto, I want you to meet Vaggie, she is my girlfriend. The 8-year-old stared at Vaggie with confusion before it became an intense coldness that wreaked havoc on Vaggie's nerves as Lilith and Lucifer walked in behind them. Vaggie was not sure what to make of this. I expected her parents, Vaggie thought as she approached Naruto with caution. But I didn't expect a child. Did she get pregnant? Or was it adoption? Lucifer and Lilith were watching the interaction with smiles on their faces, and seeing how the boy reacts. Naruto sniffed the air, causing him to give her an inquisitive look, analyzing her movements as he stood up when she approached him. Vaggie walks up to Naruto and kneels in front of her and holds out her hand to him. Nice to meet you, Naruto. I hope we can get along. Naruto stared at the hand and then back at Vaggie. Charlie smiled as Naruto looked at her, giving him a nod. Baring his fangs in a smile, Naruto bit Vaggie's hand. Phew! Duck! Vaggie shouted in pain as she jumped back several feet, Naruto going with her, as he didn't let go even when she was waving him around trying to shake him off. Lilith is laughing lightly while Lucifer is on the floor, laughing crazily while Charlie is trying to pry Naruto off Vaggie. No, Naruto bad, Charlie said as struggled to get him to let Vaggie go. Guh! Vaggie was crying in pain and trying to shake him, but his fangs were deep in her flesh and she was not sure what to do. Okay, that does it, young man, Charlie stated as she flicked his nose, startling him enough to release Vaggie's hand. I am so sorry, Vaggie, Charlie apologized as she held Naruto close, the blood that soaked the fur around his lips smudging her clothing. Naruto is so nice, usually. It's... Vaggie winced in pain as she held her bleeding hand. Fine. Shortly after, Naruto was sitting on the ground with a frown on his face. Naruto, you can't just attack people like that, Charlie scolded. You didn't complain when I did it to the last guy, Naruto mumbled as he crossed his arms. Charlie flinched while Lucifer frowned but returned with a smile, placing his hand on Naruto's head. That was different, Naru, so please behave for Charlie, won't you? Lucifer stated to the Hellhound. Besides, Vagatha seems to make her happy. As her son, don't you want to see your mother happy? Naruto huffed before nodding. Whatever, I don't like her and won't ever like her. Naruto got up and walked out of the room with Charlie turning to Vaggie with a sad smile. He at least acknowledged you, that is something. Vaggie frowned. Little bastard won't get rid of me that easily, Vaggie thought darkly. Flashback. How so he bit you? Pretty much it took a long time for him to warm up to me. How did that work? She shook her head. That's enough about my past with the royal family, okay? Look, she turned her head to the door. I don't care what you and Verasika do for the next few days, as I think Charlie is not in the mood for sessions, so just don't leave the hotel, okay? Angel shrugged his shoulders and walked down the hall to his room, but what she didn't see was Angel frowning in worry. Who is the guy that hurt Charlie that Naruto lashed out at him? I might have to look into this, as I'm curious to know who made Naruto become so open with Charlie. Tex. The Hellhound was sleeping in his room and he heard his phone ringing inside. While he was not as drunk as his girl and best friend last night, he was still feeling the effects of the night. Answering his phone, he saw it should be Verasika. She really can't leave me alone. Pulling his other arm free from his girlfriend, he swiped and held the phone to his ear as he walked into the living room. Verasika, look, I'm a little dash. Tex, listen, something has happened with Naruto. He raised an eyebrow, remembering him and KK had left him passed out at the club, as Giovanni said he would watch over him until he woke up and make sure he is ready to go home. What could have happened in that time, as Giovanni might not be the strongest fighter, but he was more than terrifying to those that actually knew of his power. What happened? I don't know all the details, but Naruto is having some personal issues that I think he needs another hound for, Verasika hastily answered. Could you be more specific, as there are tons of things that Naruto hasn't addressed as a hound? Tex asked in slight confusion. He said he is a late bloomer. Tex went stiff. He said that specifically? Yes, Tex moaned, as he pinched the bridge of his snout. Fun. Tex, does this mean what I think it means? Verasika asked in heavy amounts of concern. Yeah, I'll reach out later today. Dude must be seriously confused from last night, and now starting to notice certain hormones. Got to talk to the little guy about this. Thanks for the heads up, Tex said as he had to prepare for the conversation with Naruto. Tex, just help him. I know you can better than I could or anyone else right now, Verasika said in an exasperated and worried tone. Tex smiled. Got it. He heard the hang-up on his side and sighed. Tex, baby, what's wrong? KK asked as she entered the living room, wearing one of Tex's shirts, which was huge on her, and had her hair down. He turned his head to his girlfriend and frowned. Naruto is starting have his puberty and doesn't know how to deal with it, Tex answered honestly. Oh fun, KK gasped, her eyes wide. Yeah, Tex was no longer tired or hungover as he got ready to talk to Naruto. 7th ring. Standing in the middle of the 7th ring is a large white castle. The limo pulls up to the castle and comes to a stop. The back door opened and out came Naruto wearing his white hoodie and with a frown on his face. Home sweet home, I guess. Naruto walked up the steps to the front door, and when he touched the doors, they slowly swung open. Dramatic effect, how fooning original. Naruto deadpanned when he saw the lineup of maids and butlers all bowing to him. Most were imps, but there were other demons of varying looks and lineages among them as well. Welcome home, Lord Naruto, they all chorused. Yeah, thank you all, and now you can all politely fun off. The servants are shocked. Naruto was usually nicer to them than even Charlie. Some were wondering what has gotten into him since they could see he is tired and looked drained. Now sweetie, that is no way to treat the servants that came to greet you. Entering the main foyer hallway was a beautiful woman with light pale skin, red horns on her head, a black dress, and a seductive smile on her face. Naruto gave a small grin. Hello, grandmother. Lilith laughed before waving the servants away, who quickly dispersed to deal with different things in the manor and gossip about the Prince of Hell's attitude. Welcome home, dear. She quickly walks up to him and gives him a soft hug and a kiss on the top of his head. Yeah, thanks for the warm welcome. Lilith frowned slightly and shook her head. Charlie, you really don't understand the effect you had on him, and what he has really done to himself for you. Well, I know you're tired, so why don't you retreat to your room and I'll have the servants bring you your favorites to drink? Naruto smiled. I actually would like those, thanks. Lilith nodded her head and waved him off with a shooing motion, making him retreat down the hall. It is worse than I thought. Charlie really has pushed him and he is not having it anymore. Pulling out her own cell phone, she dialed a number and heard. Yes, what is it, dear? I'm in the middle of this drabble of a meeting with the Sins dash. Fun your meeting. Our grandson is home. Really? Is Charlie with him? No, dear, please get back here as soon as possible as I think he needs you. I'll be there in an hour. Lilith hung up her phone and walked down the hall and into the kitchen. Her grandson was home, and this meant a special feast for the night, even if she had to kill a few of the servants to make it. One servant that looks like a rooster started to sweat bullets, feeling best to stay out of the kitchen. Naruto, on the other hand, had entered his room, and it is quite spacious. He had a king-size bed near the center of the room, a 60-inch plasma TV with the latest game consoles, all the latest games, and a wireless high-quality remote made of fooning gold. In front of it was an Italian leather gaming chair with a diamond-encrusted headphones for online gaming. In one corner, a private bar with all his favorite drinks and even some small snacks. Naruto walked over to his small bar and quickly opened it up and saw he had a bottle of tequila, so he poured himself a glass and walked over to his chair and put it into the cup holder while putting on his headset that he modified for his ears, and quickly started up his console. Going through his games, he picked one. Cyberpunk 2077. Apparently, he heard they made major updates to the game, so he was going to invest some time into it. Once the game booted up, he quickly got into the flow of things and got lost in the story while ignoring the heat that was coming from his crotch and trying to understand how to make it go away. Another part of Pride Ring. Cherry was sitting on a rooftop going through her phone and seeing who she can fun with today while hearing the blaring sound from some club down below. She could only roll her eyes when she heard someone shouting, Lord Menu, how could you have forsaken me? Why yes, Ginger, I would love another lap dance, thank you. Cherry wondered how she could hear the demon from all the way up on the roof of another building but didn't give it much thought. Only your dances can fill the hole in my heart. Another voice, similar in tone, shouted, Would you shut the fun up over there? Some of us are trying to set up our safe word. Okay baby, started the first voice, I'm ready. Cherry could only guess they must be relatives given the distinction of their voices. I'm sorry sir, but you're out of money. What out of money? Hey asshat, give me some money. Fun you, shouted the second voice. Don't make me come over there, you piece of shit. We both know that a one-pump chump like you doesn't have that kind of distance. Cherry choked on her laughter. That was clever. Oh hell no, I'm coming over there now. Ha, bring it bitch. Soon some muffling was heard. Hey, what the fun, take your hands off me, what did I do? Hey, I'm not doing anything. You're disturbing the guests, a deep voice said. She guessed a bouncer, and you are out of money. Soon Cherry saw two green beings thrown out the door into a nearby alleyway. Ginger, you fooning tramp, I still love you. This is the fourth fooning time, why do I keep coming with you? The first one looked at the second, She couldn't see their faces, but she saw they were skinny and green. Cherry didn't know that one of her bombs had fallen out of her bag and to the ground below, rolling to the middle of the street. So, what do we do now? Go slay some other asshats in this town and getting your broke ass some more cash. You could have just lent me some, you fooning asshole. Then we wouldn't have been thrown out. Fun you, overcompensating prick. Bitch, let's see who has more followers on YouTube, as I ain't overcompensating nothing. The second one soon stepped out of the shadows but was blinded when a bomb went off and he was sent flying. No! Fun, the figure turned to the roof and within a blur, Cherry saw him disappear from the ground and appear next to her. The demon in question was a skinny-limbed green frog she had to guess with big white eyes with black pupils. The fun? You bitch, that asshole had all the money still and I needed that. So you're going to make up for that now? Cherry smiled slightly. So did anyone tell you look just like Kermit the Frog from Sesame Street? Cherry pointed out with a hesitant chuckle as she realized that he really looked like Kermit the Frog. Like? Exactly like Kermit the Frog. Kermit stared at her, his eyes unchanging, but his face scrunched up as the ground around him started to shake. Wait, what the fun is going on? Cherry asked in concern, on edge and prepared to react if attacked. You stupid whore, Kermit said as he clenched his felt-looking butt cheeks as he grunted, his body being surrounded by an intense lime-green light. I'm a muppet. Cherry used her hands to block the light, and the moment it died down, she looked between her fingers. What the fun? She shouted as the once skinny frog turned into an insanely buff, with godly six-pack abs, rock-hard pecs, and voluptuous cheeks. It's the power of steroids, Kermit said as he pulled out a boom box, dropped it on the ground with a thud before hitting the play button with his foot, which started to play Roundabout by Yes. The fun is going on with the music dash. Prepare to meet your maker. Kermit struck a weird pose with his hand in front of his face, and Cherry could hear the music ramping up. You one-eyed thought. No, seriously, what the fuck dash? Vaggie sighed. She had just had one of the roughest nights of her life. While she was not doing treatment due to Charlie, she had to sleep in an empty room until she could get Charlie out of their bedroom. Sadly, she seemed to be content on staying in there, but for some reason she had the feeling she needed to get into the room now more than ever. But she was not sure how to get in, given that no one, not even Charlie herself, knew where the extra master key was. Fun me, where could he have hidden that damn key? Even Alastair doesn't know, and that freak seems to know everything in this fooning hotel. Hearing steps behind her, she saw Angel walking to her with a blank expression. Lately, the two of them have been trading turns checking on Charlie, and she has known that Angel seemed to be less troublesome than in prior weeks, meaning to her at least. He was trying to lessen the burden on them, but she was also sure this is his way to cash in on a favor down the road. Angel, hey taco breath, she growled, listen, if Naruto asks you found it by chance. He then held up a key in his hand and Vaggie's eyes widened. It was the other master key. Snatching it out of his hand, she whispered harshly, how the fun did you find the key? I mean, seriously, where was it? Angel rolled his eyes. Better you don't know, because the last thing we all need is someone in this hotel finding out and taking it for their own enjoyment. Vaggie thought it over and shook her head while smiling lightly. Yeah, by the way, tell Husker you can drink all today. I'll overlook it just this once. Angel smiled and went down the stairs before snapping his fingers and rushing back down the hall, making Vaggie raise an eyebrow. Little did she know Angel had found the key in Naruto's room, stashed between two runes inside of his mattress. He didn't know what the runes did, but for some reason they didn't react to him, so he guessed they were keyed to certain figures in the hotel. Another thing is that no one would know that while he was giving Vaggie the key, Verasika would have snuck into his room quickly and took a few pieces of clothing for herself and stashed them in her room. Back to Vaggie she dashed through the halls and arrived at her shared room with Charlie. Inserting the key, she quickly opened and locked the door. She could see the lights were out and that the room seemed to have an oppressive air about it. She must really be upset with what happened. Guess there is no point in delaying the inevitable. Entering into the main part of the bedroom where Charlie was, she is shocked. Something was definitely different, and she couldn't help shout, Charlie, what the fun? The woman in question was sitting on her bed with a depressed look on her face, but what was shocking is that her body had seemingly changed. Her body was taller and seemed slimmer. Her eyes had red pupils, and her skin seemed to almost shine compared to before. What she saw there was something completely different from her lover, and she had no clue what to make of it. The woman in question turned her head with a soft sigh. Hey Vags, what do you think? Charlie dully asked a confused Vaggie. Huh, Charlie turned to her girlfriend and smiled lightly, trying out a new look. Oh, Vaggie rubbed her arms nervously. What can she say in a time like this? Well, it is not bad look for you. Vaggie walked up and sat down next to Charlie. I think that there are only small changes here and there, but you're still the same Charlie and I still love you all the same. Charlie smiled but then frowned, looking away from her. Do I really deserve you though? What brought this on? Naruto. Vaggie realized what she meant. Look, Naruto, she rubbed the back of her neck. He was hungover. You agitating him in that state probably wasn't the smartest thing in the world, and honestly it is not something someone wants to deal with when they have a massive headache. I mean, remember what happened on the day of the exterminators when they tried to enter the 7th ring of hell? Yeah, I remember, but that is not what I'm getting at. She looked at Vaggie. Be honest, do you believe in this hotel as much as I do, or are you doing this just to keep me happy? Vaggie was sweating on the inside. I'm not sure. Honestly, I'm not even sure if I don't believe in this place or not. But Vaggie took a deep breath and found her voice after a few seconds. Honestly? I didn't in the beginning. I mean, the whole concept was crazy and insane. I wanted to talk you out of this mess because I didn't want you to get your hopes up and then find they are pointless in what you're trying to do. I mean, it seemed so crazy and too optimistic that I just didn't know what to believe. I was actually 5 minutes away of just telling you that. Charlie frown deepened. Why didn't you? Vaggie smiled lightly. Because Naruto convinced me otherwise. Charlie raised an eyebrow. How so? Well, Naruto took me to the side and explained to me that while he thought the idea was crazy too, he believed that in some manner of speaking it was possible. He told me to have faith in you, and if things didn't work out then you still had us, and that is something we had to be ready to show. But I get where Naruto was coming from during the fight yesterday. You mean how I'm a horrible mother? Vaggie waved her hands. No, far from it. Charlie, you're one of the best I have ever seen. I mean, look at it. You took in a hellhound child, one with unique traits but nothing special about him, and you raised him all on your own with just some support from your parents here and there. You taught him about underworld in better detail, showed him not all things are as evil and corrupt as they appear, and more importantly you gave him unconditional love and care. Vaggie smiled. I know deep down Naruto feels guilty about what he said and he just did it in the heat of the moment. But I know for a fact he does love you and wants you happy, but at the same time you sometimes forget he is still his own person. She frowned. I'm sure when he gets back, we can lecture him heavily for his behavior and the way he acted, but he was right in some cases. I mean, look at it this way. He is in 20s for fun's sake, Charlie. Charlie nodded her head. You can't keep thinking he is going to stay oblivious to everything and anything. I mean, you said you wanted grandkids, right? So how are you going to do that if you don't let him go out there and explore sex? Charlie blushed at the idea of having little grandbabies but quickly shook it out of her mind. But that doesn't mean he can act so depraved. He doesn't, Charlie. Just when he is drunk this happens, and you know the reason is because of his childhood with you. He has never explored those avenues and now he is trying to figure out things on his own. His own sexual nature, what turns him on, what are his kinks, and more. That is shit that can really be confusing to a young man, while in the body of an adult has the mind of a teenager, and the sex drive of a hellhound. Charlie frowned and sighed. Right, hellhounds next to succubus and other sexual creatures are some of the most fevered lovers out there, and worse. They can be right out aggressive when claiming their mates, but his actions seem more intense than the others. Yes, Charlie sighed and looked at the ceiling. I guess you're right. I did smother him too much and sheltered him from hell. She had tears running down her face. I didn't want to lose him. If somehow this plan does work, then I hope that one day he can find redemption, and that means he can find his own semblance of peace, and if not, then at least I still have my son. That's all that matters, is him staying with me and not being lost in this crazy place. Charlie started crying, tears just constantly streaming down her face. I'm afraid that I have pushed him to the point that he won't ever come back, and that my father was right, that I'm just making mistake after mistake and I can't seem to stop. Vaggie, hearing enough, rushes to her and hugs her tightly, making Charlie stiffen. You're not wrong, Charlie, but you forgot. All children grow up. I can see that you're just like Lucifer in that regard. You don't want your child making the same mistakes or having false hope. That is something you share. But please, Vaggie cried into her shoulder, making Charlie frown. Don't ever think we will stop loving you, because while we might not say it, we are doing all of this out of love for you. Charlie smiled and returned the hug, with the two of them just embracing the quiet and each other's warmth. Downstairs, however, Angel found Cherry rushing through the front door, tired, bruised, and cut up badly. Cherry, what the dash? Where's Naruto? He ain't here. Apparently things got tense, and he bounced. But seriously, what the fun happened to you? Fun, I need to talk to him. Something is coming, and it is strong as fun. Angel frowned. What could it be? Pentagram City. Kermit was resting. He was sitting on a luxury bed in the middle of Manor, and he just took a bottle from the side of his bed and took one quick swig. What a day. Fought some woman off and made her respect my gangsta, and now I had a great day and more money to visit Ginger again. Getting off the bed, he saw the bottle empty and sighed while opening the door, hearing clicking sounds. Get that Sesame Street fooner. Kermit glared down at them. I'm a Muppet mother fooner. With this declaration, he leapt over the banister and onto the ground floor below before smashing the bottle into the face of one of the imps, making him scream from the pain and the glass in his eye. Seeing that he is now carrying the sharp point of the bottle, he quickly dashes into the next imp, aiming his shotgun at him. Before slamming the glass into the man's throat, leaving him choking to death on his own blood, he quickly took the man's shotgun, pumped it, and then fired the gun into the imp closest to him, sending him flying while another imp got hit by some of the pellets. Bring it, pussies! I'm Frog D. Kermit. Minutes later, Kermit walked out of the manor with a smile on his face and humming some tune. Behind him the mansion was covered in blood, imps' bodies were lying everywhere, and some of them were missing heads, limbs, and even some had their entire as ripped off and slammed into the asses of those nearby. No idea why he did it, but he did it. Now then, Ginger, you tramp, I'm coming for you! He shouted with his arms in the air, flailing. Why? Lucifer's castle. Naruto had woken up in better spirits today. Yesterday had been incredibly draining, and worst of all, he had to talk to his grandfather about what happened. Flashback. Naruto had switched to the 6th Funin game, and he was annoyed because some asshole was owning his ass in every single Funin game. And it was getting old, and it's the same Funin screen name. Forbidden Fruit 666. Mother Funer. Naruto was in the middle of his magic build in Elden Ring, and right as he is about to wreck this asshole with 1 HP, out of nowhere he closes the distance, and cuts through him with a weapon that causes rot. Fun! Naruto slammed his controller on the ground and turned off the game. Turning to the door, he growled. Get in here, I know you're outside that door, Gramps. Entering the room, Naruto saw Lucifer walking in with a smile on his face and a phone in his hand. Now, grandson, you should know better than to try and best the man that rules over hell. After all, I'm pretty sure I would be what you call the Elden Lord in this case. Or the ruler of Cyberpunk. Or more. Yeah, but everyone knows Lilith controls you by the balls, so she controls you, meaning she controls hell. Lucifer laughed. True, my young pup. He walked up and rubbed his head, making the boy frown, making him frown slightly. So tense, his emotions are all over the place, and the hormones. Fun, it is like this kid is a powder keg of sexual tension and depravity waiting to be unleashed. When did you get back? Lucifer was pulled out of his thoughts by this question and smiled. Just about an hour ago. Didn't you see me snipe you a few minutes ago? Yeah, I did. You bought using Funer. Ha! You wish. Naruto rolled his eyes. So did Grandma call you? She did. He walked over to Naruto's bar and pulled out some of his alcohol and poured himself a drink. While not his brand, he would still drink it. She told me about you having some kind of disagreement with Charlie? Naruto frowned, and after pulling his knees to his chest, his ear flattened and tail tucked. Yeah, I guess, he rubbed his head roughly with both hands. She just drove me up a wall, and I was hungover and just wanted to get the cure for that shit before going into that conversation. But no, she insisted that we had to talk about it right at this moment, and all it did was led to more tension between the two of us and me saying things I regret. In particular, like about the hotel, bringing up her ex, talking about her dream and my own doubts, and reminding her of her own selfish nature when it comes to taking advantage of us. Lucifer nodded his head. True, those are some of the problems I figured were brought up. But it looks like there is more to it. What else? Naruto frowned and whimpered. I called her the worst mother in all of hell. Lucifer frowned and put his drink down. Do you believe that? No, but he rubbed his head and growled. It is so fooning frustrating, I can't deal with it. I know it is my own fault I put myself in this situation, but still it is madness that she can't see I have my own fooning issues and need to sort my shit out. Like your sex drive and other hormone-related issues? Naruto looked at him shocked, while Lucifer smiled brightly. My boy, I might not be centered around lust, but I can still sense it like my wife can, and honestly you are so full of hormones it is a surprise you manage to ignore your heat. Looking down he saw Naruto's erection pushing through his pants. Or not, and you just have a thing for men. He smiled teasingly but then saw Naruto growl and moan from the pressure. Fun! Naruto, you really shouldn't try to suppress your sexual urges. It could kill you if you're not careful. I can't help it. Naruto growled and soon his erection went down but he can hear him panting from the sudden rush and fighting of his. I can't control when the damn thing pops up and this has caused a handful of confusion with people all around and some wondering if I was gay, motherfuckers. I'm not gay but it is frustrating that it keeps coming up even after I beat the shit out of people. Naruto. What's worse, I'm not sure why but for some reason even when around hot women I can't control my erection and sometimes it disappears as fast as it can come. Naruto please, he waved his hand. I get it son, I really do, he sighed. Maybe you should reach out to a hellhound that can talk you through this. While I know about everything that goes on in hell, I know that some species of demons have very different reactions and hormones that are hard to explain. Yeah, Naruto looked at his phone that he put in the cup holder for his drink. Maybe it is time to talk to Tex but not today, I'm just so tired. Naruto sighed and looked up. Fun, I wish there was more I could do but Charlie would freak if she knew I wanted to do something other than drinking. It was a bitch just to get her okay with that. Lucifer sighed. He recalled that day perfectly, and knew that his daughter never forgave him for introducing the boy to booze, but how couldn't he? The boy killed his first batch of assassins and scared the piss out of Asmodeus of lust. He was so proud. A true Morningstar, and they will be going by Morningstars from now on. Boys, dinner time. Lucifer nodded his head and walked up to his grandson and pat his head, making the boy look at him. In time you'll understand your own desires, Naruto, but for now, enjoy your downtime and when the time comes, you'll understand your lust and your desire for other things. What kind of other things do you have in mind? I mean, I murder and I drink and soon sex is going to be on the table, so what else is there dash? Lucifer held out a stick and Naruto raised an eyebrow. Smoke this later and you'll understand one of the basic pleasures of an earthly drug. He laughs and walks out of the room. Humans still think God planted it on earth. How hilarious, I made devil's cabbage just for shits and giggles. Naruto looked down and smiled. Guess I got another hobby. Better limit myself on this one for stress. Flashback ends. Naruto took out another stick and lit it up while taking a quick inhale of the weed and then exhale. Oh shit. Rubbing the back of his head he saw all the messages he had from the previous day and he was shocked. 10 missed calls from Charlie. 5 from Angel, how the fun he got his number is a mystery. 2 from Vaggie. 12 missed texts from Verasika, now I really needed to know how the fun she got his number. 3 from Cherry, I guess everyone has my number somehow, and finally he saw 1 message from Tex. Figuring that Tex would be the least annoying person to deal with, he opens his phone and sees he has a voicemail. Hey bro, so don't be mad but Verasika told me what happened at the hotel. I hear you are starting to realize you were a late bloomer. Give me a call soon, man. I can shine some light on shit because this is long time coming. Well, if he can really help then might as well. Naruto pressed the return call button and soon his phone rang once. Naruto. Oh man, it's good to hear from you. Been wondering where you are, man. Sorry Tex, I'm with my grandparents in the Seventh Circle and it is not exactly a place most get to see without dying or being driven mad trying to find it. True, listen, Verasika told me what happened yesterday. Are you really starting to notice some of the signs as a late bloomer? Yeah, what do you know about it? Okay bro, listen carefully, nothing is wrong with you. You're going through a puberty that has long since been delayed, honestly. I'm surprised you held out this long without full-on mounting the nearest bitch in the yard. So is that good or bad? Both, you see, Naruto. The reason you're having such brutal heat cycles compared to me or the other hounds is that you're recognized as the alpha of the hounds, meaning that your instincts demand respect and you won't back down from anyone. Also, this includes you having the stronger impulses to fight, protect, kill, eat, and fun. I'm sure noticed by now. When around certain amounts of hormones you get a huge erection? Naruto slightly blushed with red showing on his fur. Yes, I try to turn it down by thinking horrible things and then the erection goes away, but it is getting harder and harder as time goes on. Okay, stop doing that. Your body needs sexual release. You're no succubus, but the more you try to suppress it the worse it is going to get. You need to get some release, man, and soon. So, what, go find the nearest whore and take her into an alleyway and just plow her if I have an erection. The last thing I want is a diseased man. You don't have to do that, man. But you have to do something, otherwise your body is going to shut down on you. Plus, As the alpha, your instincts are demanding you take as many bitches as you can while finding your alpha female. My what? Think of it as your female counterpart, someone that no matter how many times you see them, you'll always have an erection for them and desire them. Someone that will keep you in line and someone that you will come to see as your main wife, I guess is the technical term. How will I know though? Bro, you'll know when it happens, trust me, that's how I met my girl. Naruto sighed. Thanks Tex, I appreciate it. Anything else? Yeah, one more thing. If you don't want to have sex, man, then just get a blow job or something, man. Trust me, it'll take the pressure off. Alright, thanks man, and check your phone as I think your boss got my number from you. Are you kidding? Damn it, that is the third time she hacked my phone. Naruto chuckled. Your problem, not mine. Naruto hung up and smiled while feeling his erection again. He sighed. Well, I guess I could try doing this solo for now. When one of the maids walked in on him later, she would see a sight that would make her wonder if it is too late to sign up as a pet for the young master. Chapter End. Tribute, The Bad Guy. Kermit had arrived back at the club, and with a fat stack of cash, he walked through the door and shouted, Ginger, where are you? The club turned to him and the bodyguard sighed before looking at the bartender. Hey, mind going to find Scott? Sure. The bartender walked into the back while Kermit was scouring the room looking for his favorite girl, but he never noticed a looming shadow over himself. Hey you. Turning his head, he gained wide eyes. Standing there was a man with slick black hair, a 5 o'clock shadow, hairy chest, and a muscular physique with impressive height. Scott Hall. What the fun are you doing in hell? The man shrugged his shoulders. Nothing really, figured I got here for a reason, but as for you, he took his toothpick out of his mouth and flicked the frog with it. You're disturbing the guests, so beat it, buddy. Oh? So, you want the fooning smoke then? Very well then, I'll give you dash. Scott hit him in the face with a right hook, knocking him down. Ow. What the fun, dude, don't you know the rules for engagements? I'm supposed to make a taunt. Why the fun am I sideways now in your arms? Scott quickly leaned forward and released Kermit the Frog, sending him flying over his head and crashing on the ground back first and moaning. Scott jumped up, put his hands in front of himself, and did a quick shake jive before throwing his arms out. Kermit got up. Okay, asshole. Now you're going to get it. Kermit leaped at the man, but he was caught with one hand by Scott. Okay, seriously, what the fuck, dash? He was picked up in a one-handed choke slam and slammed into the floor, with the room erupting in cheers at the demonstration. Scott crossed his arms over his neck and slashed them down, signaling the end. Quickly picking Kermit up by the head, he put it beneath him and spread his arms again. This led to him grabbing him by the waist, putting him on his back, and holding him above his head with his hands under the man's armpit. He then rushed forward, descending to the floor, and then slamming him head first into the ground. Without warning, Scott crawled over and pulled one of his legs up and laid on his chest. One of the girls quickly jumped down and slapped her hand on the ground. 1. The room shook with anticipation. 2. 3. The room erupted in cheers, and Kermit laid there unconscious, not knowing what the fun just happened due to the concussion he took with his head bouncing off the floor from that last attack. The room soon grew with a powerful light, and everyone covered their eyes and saw a couple of cherubs appearing, and one had a bright smile on his face. Scott Hall? Yeah, who's asking? The cherub sweated. Sorry sir, but apparently your paperwork got mixed up and we are here to take you to heaven. Scott Hall raised an eyebrow and looked around him, and it looked like he was having doubts, but one of the girls said, Scott, go with them. He looked at her. Heaven is waiting for you. You were never meant to come down here. Scott frowned before turning to the cherubs. Was I a bad guy? No, Scott, the cherub touching his shoulder, and a light quickly shined on them, taking them up in the sky. You were the bad guy. The room smiled, and Scott smiled down at everyone and waved to them before vanishing in the light. The room cried at losing such a good man, but knowing he was in a better place. Kermit, while unconscious, was lying on the floor not knowing what happened, but Ginger had shown up just as this whole mess ended, walked over to him, took the wad of cash she had, and walked to the back to get started with her shift. The bouncer would just throw him into the garbage bin, where he would wake up not knowing what the fun happened, but knowing that Ginger took his money and now he had to go out and get some more. R.I.P. Scott Hall, you will be missed. Naruto smoked his stick, blowing out some smoke as he walked down the hallway of his grandparents' home. He had a smile on his muzzle, and the servants were happy to see him, except the one that rushed him with a knife aiming for the back of his neck. But the minute he got within range, Naruto ducked under the slash and turned on his heel to face the unknown demon, and slammed his right hand into his throat, his claws digging deep into his throat, leaving him gurgling blood and falling to the ground gasping for air. He sighed. Great, that is more blood to get out of the carpet, but I'm sure the others won't mind cleaning up shit. Stopping on his face, Naruto broke the demon's nose and then stopped on his throat, killing him with a crunch. In the last 3 days Naruto had calmed down a lot and was growing more comfortable with everything going on more. He was happy to finally be free of the nagging feeling of his crotch and dealing with his instinct of fighting back and killing now becoming sated. He knew that his mother wouldn't approve, but at this point he was just going to do it either way, so he would just keep the killing to a minimum. Plus, Naruto was eager to start visiting more of the strip clubs in hell to see if there is something to the whole dancers on the pole and the provocative removal of clothes, at least while he is somewhat sober and aware of what the fun is going on. Which is why, walking down the hall after cleaning the blood off his hand and his feet, he walked into the throne room where Lilith was sitting. Apparently it was tradition for the two of them to have at least one person in the throne, as this allowed to them to view everything in hell and know if there is something worth noting. It was some kind of creation of his grandfather, and it was meant to make sure his subjects knew better than to cross him, or even think about hurting him, or his family. It was especially true when one of the sins, he thinks it was the one of wrath, basically said that he was going to try and kill Charlie, and prove his superiority, or something. From then on, the family never utters a word of Charlie to anyone or even dares to question why Lucifer slaughtered most of their family. They just thanked him for the mercy and promised that they would remember their place. From experience knew the sins were powerful. He was certain he could take on one, maybe two of them at a time, but anything else, and he would probably die in those encounters. Especially true since some of them live up to their strength and reputation compared to others. Back to the throne room he walked up to his grandmother, who smiled. "Hello dear, having a hellish morning?" Naruto shrugged. "Killed one of those dipshit servants that came here in the hopes of doing something grand, but other than that just smoking a stick." Lilith smiled. "That's good. Have you had a chance to look through your messages?" "Yeah." Naruto looked through them and raised an eyebrow. "Somehow they all got my number, and it is just annoying, but many of them are just concerned about me and wondering how I am doing. I mean, Cherry mentioned something about a Muppet attacking her, but I couldn't make it out too well, and Verasika mentioned she was worried and hoped I come back soon." "Oh?" Lilith's eyes sparkled. "Is someone hearing wedding bells with a certain succubus?" Naruto blushed. "No. I'm just touched she cares that much more than she wants to jump my." Lilith laughed. "I know, dear. But you really should investigate possibly finding a maid of your own soon. I mean, for fun's sake. I'm still waiting on the girl that will snatch your heart." Naruto shook his head. "Well, besides that, I just wanted to say goodbye to you and Grandpa as I'm heading back to patch things up with Mom." Lilith smiled, and after stepping off the throne, she hugged him tightly. "Call if you need anything, and please let Charlie know that I love her. I haven't had the chance to reply to all her messages, but I think that should at least be something good for her, no?" "Yeah." Naruto pulled away and waved to Lilith. "Tell the old man that I'll be back for a rematch on his cheating ass." Lilith laughed, watching her grandson walk out of the door, and smiled, knowing things were going to get better for him. Now if he would only find a fooning girl and start popping out some great grandbabies for her. In the castle, Lucifer watched as his grandson was leaving and could only sigh. "Well, there he goes." He switched his drink and looked on with a smile. Off to that stupid hotel and to help Charlie with this ridiculous concept of redemption. Lilith entered his office and frowned. "Would it actually kill you to try to entertain the idea of Charlie's dream?" "I mean, it is not completely outlandish, you should know, Dash." Lucifer growled and the glass cracked in his hand. "Not another word about that." Lilith frowned and sauntered up to her husband, who she put her arms around his neck, and just leaned into his back. "You have to agree that the chance is there though, right?" Lucifer could only sigh before taking a small sip of his drink before pulling the glass away from his face. "Whether it is there or not is irrelevant. Charlie doesn't know what is awaiting her at the end of this path, and the last thing I want for her is to find that nothing will amount from this mess." "You don't know that." Lilith looked at the back of her husband's head. "For all we know, maybe she is the thing the world needs to tip the scale and break away from our set cycle." Lucifer sighed. "You know, that is just pity wishing, and I refuse to do that." He twitched. "After all, I had the same hope a long time ago, and all it led was to this glorious fun up." Lilith let go and turned her husband's face around. "Are you saying coming to me was a mistake?" Lucifer smiled. "Darling, if nothing else, you're the best thing that came out of this other than Charlie." He frowned. "I just don't want her burned like I was." Lilith kissed him on the lips. "Honey, trust in her. I promise things might not unravel like you fear. If they do, then we will be there for her, and she will grow from this experience. That is what matters the most, no?" Experience? Lucifer sighed. I guess, but no father, no matter who, wants to see their child heartbroken. He gripped his cane. Not at their hands. I'll turn all the little pets into smears if they dare. Lilith laughed a bit before pulling away from her husband. It was times like this she could see the man she loved and the man that loved those close to him. He was not one to mix his thoughts and feelings, but when it came to their family, it was the one time that they were united. Now if only the dumb fun stopped being such a blockhead and told her daughter his reasonings, and then maybe things could even out. Not like someone in heaven doesn't know about this. She tilted her head. Maybe that brother of his, what was his name? Gabriel, I think? She shook her head. We shall see, but first I'd better make arrangements for our visit in a couple of months. Can't wait to see the hotel. Lilith left the throne room, almost skipping, while Lucifer could only sweat drop at his wife's unusual behavior. But then he felt something tingling on the back of his neck and narrowed his eyes. What are you doing here? He turned his gaze to the shadows and his yellow eyes glowed with rage. You know better than to come here, so what is it you want? The person slowly emerged from the shadow, and all one could make out of the person is their white wings and their halo. The person smiled sadly. You sure haven't changed, huh? Lucifer narrowed his eyes. Either have you, Imp City. Verasika was not someone that you would describe as emotional. Not to the sense that she would think about someone all the time and care about their personal feelings. Just enough to the point they agree to fund her, and then after a few times, she gets bored and moves on. But that is not the case today. Her studio called her and asked her to come to Imp City for a new photo shoot, and while she wanted to turn it down, she needed to get out of the hotel. It was so boring without her favorite hellhound there to keep her company, and while he was refusing her advances, she knew that some part of him saw her and her sex appeal. But he just didn't have the same drive as most. Naruto was reluctant, and after the big fight she was not sure if calling Tex was the best thing, considering she had reached out to him personally. If he thought she was butting in where she didn't need to be, she was worried that meant he would stop talking or interacting with her at all. She shivered at the idea. The pink limo came to a stop, and she saw that she was outside of the photo shoot set, and she just sighed, trying to get herself mentally prepared for this. She was not sure she could be in the proper frame of mind. From what she gathered, this shoot was centered around the cover of her new album and drawing non-stop attention in the smallest bikini possible. And while she didn't get to wear it at the hotel, she was sure that she could while at the set. Her intentions were to one day use it as a means of seduction, but this could work either way. Just something that would sell her album and continue to keep her groupies happy while they fooned around while she is in the hotel. Entering the building, she just walked through the halls while hearing the hissing and moaning from some of the demons around her. While normally she would entertain them and consider letting them have a little bit of fun with her, she couldn't care. Fooning lightweights probably wouldn't be able to handle me anyway. Climbing up the stairs, she saw a door at the end of the hall with Tex standing there with a blank look on his face, and she couldn't tell if he was annoyed or just worried. Tex, she smiled, and he returned the smile. How is everyone? Pretty good, boss. Just keeping the idiots in line when I have to, but sadly most can't stop trying to fund anything that doesn't shake them off. I figured. Verasika rolled her eyes. Succubus and incubus are always a handful. Well, anyway, I'm heading in. Right. He opened the door but then snapped his fingers. Right, I almost forgot to mention. Naruto just texted me last night. Verasika stopped in mid-step. How is he? Tex took a small jump from her loud voice, but after he regained his hearing, he's fine. He told me that he is going to be in town today and heading back to the hotel to talk to Charlie. So probably you'll see him this afternoon. But he asked me to meet up with him about something, and I wanted to ask if I can take off after the shoot. Verasika got pensive but smiled. Sure, just let me know when he is on his way to the hotel, okay? Tex rolled his eyes. His boss really needed to quit it. Sure. Didn't mean he wouldn't tell her what she wanted to hear. Great. Verasika entered the room and saw everyone was there and prepped. Honestly, the girls were set and dressed up in their most revealing and in some cases more covered bikini bottoms and tops, but the guys were just rocking Speedos. While she could admit that some of them were hot in their outfits, she knew that she had to be the standout in this case. So, without warning, she threw her fur coat to the side of the room, which was caught by one of the rabid photographers, then took off her top and skirt, revealing her bikini to the room. Most were shocked into silence while the girls were whistling, and the incubus, she could feel their lust. In all honesty, her outfit was very revealing, but it was not to the level of just having pasties and band-aids like she would when going to the beach. But in this case she chose something more along the lines as a single swimsuit that had midriff opened for her breasts to bounce with the thin strips against her chest barely covering her nipples. If one looked carefully they could see some of the nipple skin underneath the straps. The crotch part of the swimsuit dug in between her ass cheeks, making them stand out more pronouncedly, and showing off her barely covered crotch to boot. The room could only whistle and pant. While it made her feel stronger, she could honestly say she didn't give a flying fun, learning that her favorite hound is coming back to the hotel. She just wanted to get this shoot done with and head back as quickly as possible. That way, she could try and get his attention now that it sounds like he is going to be more open. Not sure why she thought this, but it was a gut feeling, and her feelings are never wrong. Stretching her arm, she looked at her right arm and saw the tattoo that was there, and the name she had crossed out. Veronica frowned. Honestly, just thinking about her ex only pissed her off. It was something she held deep resentment for, and one of the reasons she swore off ever dating an imp. Blitzo, he was an inconsiderate asshole and someone that just didn't seem to trust her in a relationship of any kind. Plus he blew through a lot of her money while they were dating as well, and while money wasn't important to her, she was angry that he did that to her and never apologized. That is all she ever wanted from him, was an apology, but no, he had to be a cynical asshole about everything and worse, blame her for other things. While true she was tempted at the time to try her luck with some men, since she was in a committed relationship she didn't bother, as she had too much respect for Blitzo at the time. But after what he did, yes, she got royally fooned up and had one of the biggest orgies ever and had managed to wear out all of her partners, including quite a few incubuses and succubus. She had thought about getting the stupid thing removed, but for some reason she didn't want to, and she couldn't explain it. Maybe it was a reminder of why she hates him. Was it to continue to hold on to the rage and anger in her heart? Remind her that after he did this to her she ended up meeting Naruto by chance and forming a new bond from the ashes of the old one? She didn't know, but one thing was for sure, she had never thought about getting rid of the tattoo. Shaking her head, she focused on the photo shoot in which they had her get in the most provocative pose possible, and the rest of her groupies joining in on the fun. She would worry about her head ex and the sexy hound later, for now she had to focus on business. Pentagram City. Naruto had just ordered Xavier to stop at a nearby plant store and picked up the stuff he needed for his surprise gift for his mother. He knew that while validated, he really owed her big for his blow-up and talking to her in such a way. While it is true that he was tired and angry and hungover at the time, he did regret his actions and some of the stuff he said. He knew that his mother was better to him than most, and that he took advantage of her when he wanted something, but still, he was willing to admit his faults, and he knew that his mother would too if the conditions were right. Plus, Vaggie was driving him up a wall about everything going on, from Cherry Bomb and her run-in with Frog Demon and his mother going through phase change. Yeah, it was a weird time in hell since he has been gone. An explosion ripped through the streets and Naruto looked forward, seeing explosions and gunfire going off in all directions, and he just stared as demons were running away. Funny, can I get a break from idiots? Looking at Xavier, take the back route home. I'll catch up later. Of course, Lord Morningstar. The limo quickly backed up and he was gone down the street before Naruto could correct him. I'm gonna kill him one day, I know it. That or I'll turn him into a chew toy. Naruto shook his head and proceeded down the streets of the city, seeing piles of corpses all around, and he couldn't help but whistle. Fun. Who are you? Naruto turned his head and saw 4 piles set up, but the one in the center consisting of a green frog standing at the top of the pile. Huh, a Muppet? Finally! Someone gets it right. Cool, so you're the frog I have heard about, beating up demons and even killing a few smaller overlords. Right, he jumped off the pile. Why are you asking? Naruto shook his head and glared. Because you beat up a friend of mine named Cherry Bomb, and while she might not be a close friend, she is still a friend and my underling, so that is a big problem. The frog snapped his finger. You're the hellhound I heard about. His eyes narrow a bit. So you have come to challenge me to a battle, have you? Then let us begin. Soon epic music starts. All Naruto could think is this the fooning music from Godzilla vs. Kong? Flabbergasted? Naruto shook his head and rolled his arms before priming his claws for battle. Not even close, head. The 2 demons stared at one another before one roared and the other shouted, Lerui Gen Kiance. The 2 appeared in a blur in front of each other, and in that split second, they hear something drop on the ground. Looking down, both of them see it is a bag of green stuff. My pot / my pot. Both looked up and glared. Your pot / your pot? 10 minutes later, Naruto and Kermit are sitting on a corner, and Kermit has a huge blunt in his hands while Naruto has a smaller one. Both took deep inhales and released the puff of smoke. So, Naruto turned to him, we cool? Yeah, Kermit smiled. I'll stick to the south areas since those seem to be up for grabs while you and Cherry keep everything else. Yeah, by the way, why did you fun her up? She never specified why. He took an inhale of his stick. Well, she called me Sesame Street. Do you know how many motherfuckers in this place have done that to me? I'm guessing quite a few. Naruto smiled and Kermit shared in it. Oh yeah, I have fooned people up because of it, but thanks to this, I have nothing to go for my name. Why? Because copyright shit. Yep. Naruto raised an eyebrow. That was new. Then he snapped his fingers. Right, Gramps made that ages ago just to piss people off when they couldn't use his likeness or even things he said was his. I think it was meant to fun with God or something. Probably. But anyway, I am Kermit, but I'm not the Kermit. He took a deep inhale. Honestly, my time in hell has been horrible. How? Naruto took a small inhale, looking at what others might not see. A tired and worn-out frog. Well, take your pick. First, my ex takes all my shit and leaves me with nothing but an empty feeling. My head of a brother stole what cash I had left. And finally, I can't seem to get another lap dance from Ginger. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Ginger, really? Kermit sat up straight. You know her? Naruto rolled his eyes. Yeah, that club that she works at is one that owes me favors. Standing up and taking another hit. Come on. Where are we going? Naruto turned to the frog and walked past him. Where else we are going to get you a lap dance? Kermit needed hear nothing else. 2 hours later, Tex and his girlfriend had walked into the club. He had gotten a text from Naruto stating he was hanging out here and he was not sure why. But when he peered through the door, he saw Naruto chilling in one corner. And he was smoking another stick of weed, and he could see the hound was completely relaxed. He also had purple-skinned demon rubbing her ass all over him, and he just seemed to be taking it in stride. In another corner he saw Ginger, a very sexy succubus, doing a big rounded lap dance for some kind of frog who was watching her with a big grin on his face. Ginger was known for having some of the biggest titties in this place, and Tex knew for a fact that she was more than willing to let people touch and suck if the money was right. But by the looks of it, Naruto had pulled some strings, and now the frog demon that was raising hell is getting some extra attention thanks to it. Naruto, waving at Tex, shouted, "Take a seat anywhere, man, and relax. I'm not going anywhere for a bit." All right. Turning to his girlfriend, he smiled. You want to give me a lap dance? His girlfriend gave him a raised eyebrow, putting her hand on her hip and staring straight into his one red eye. You got cash? Tex patted his pocket and felt around until he saw he had a card but no cash. Fun, she smiled. Sorry, looks like Dash. Hey, I'll cover him, so stop teasing the poor hound. Naruto held up a huge wad of cash which made everyone in the room sweat drop. Where is he hiding that kind of cash? Shrugging her shoulders, she motioned Tex into a corner before walking into the back quick and then coming back out wearing a very revealing outfit. All right, my lovely hound, shall we see how long you can restrain yourself before we go into the VIP room? Oh, hell yeah, baby. Certain people were having different reactions to the pictures and videos being uploaded of Naruto and the others being in there. Charlie, she was taking deep breaths and muttering something to herself while trying to focus on what she wanted to say to her son when he came back to the hotel. Vaggie was focusing on calming her down while yelling at Angel for bothering Husker, who was just ignoring them all. Alastair was just smiling, and one could hear the static echoing out of his mouth and the confusion written on his face. Luna, who was looking for anything new on her phone, had an annoyed frown on her face and starting looking at herself in the mirror. I'm better looking than that slut, right? Well, I know I'm cleaner than her thanks to the medicine. Hearing a ring, she saw a text message, and it was from Naruto. And, hey, Luna got back into town and planning on spending some time at the hotel, but after I get settled back and want to meet up. Sure, what do you want to do? Luna felt her heart in her throat. And, well, I know that you didn't go through the hound training program, so how about we meet up, and we can see how much training you need for hand-to-hand? Luna frowned a bit but then smiled. This would be perfect. Sure, how about you let me know when you're free? And, sure, see you then. Luna walked over to her bed and fell backwards with a smile on her face. She was going to milk this next chance for everything it was worth. Veronica, on the other hand, was watching the video and glared. While she was happy Elle was becoming more open about sexual stuff, it didn't mean she liked him being touched by other women. She was not going to lose, damn it. Seeing this as a challenge, she decided that maybe it was time to change up tactics at the hotel and see how they work. Octavia, on the other hand, was watching the video and frowned. While she was not a sexual demon or something akin, she did have to admit Naruto had some odd tastes. Makes me wonder if he would like me? She stared down at her body and frowned. While she was about C-cup for sure and had a Lilith body compared to most, she had to say with all honesty was not the most sexual-like creature out there. It was more of a preference than anything else. But she saw him relaxing and smoking, so she figured that maybe, just maybe, he was starting to explore his feelings more? If that is the case, she need to find a way to meet up with him again and stake her claim. She was not going to lose out. Naruto, on the other hand, he just sneezed a bit and offered the woman some more money and seized her bare tits. He knew that the next few days were going to be a roller coaster, so might as well enjoy some of the freedom that he will have while he could.